Well, I'm Jennifer, I'm with Rico, and I'm going to be covering how to use the Copier printer today. And first we're going to be covering the Copier function. And as you walk up, this screen that you see is your app screen. And you choose the function you want by using the touch screen, or you can use the hard keys on the side. This is also known as your home screen. So when you press this button, it'll just it'll show the three functions on there. Now, when you go to make your copies, it's always going to ask you for a login user code, and they've given out some default codes that you can use. So you'll go ahead and put in your user code and hit OK. With this machine, it will hold up to 200 sheets in the feeder at one time. And you'll place your originals in print side up. It has auto paper select, so it's automatically going to copy on the matching paper size. If you're copying from the glass, you want to line your originals up to the top left corner where the arrow is. And as long as you're copying a standard size sheet of paper, it'll automatically copy on the matching paper size. If you put down a small item or an odd size, you'll want to choose your paper tray first, because if you leave it on auto, it will say that it can't detect the size of your paper, and you press start and it'll keep beeping at you. If you press start continuously, it'll eventually copy on letter paper for you, but to avoid that, just choose your paper tray first. And you can see what's in each of your paper trays. Right now, drawers 2 and 3 haven't been set for any size in particular. So it's reading, 2 is reading A4, but they're both empty. And you can see that by the red arrow on each of these, it's displaying the paper levels as empty. And drawer 1 actually is a tandem tray. It has 2 sides to it, and I'm going to open it up, but this is going to be the default tray. You can put 3 reams of paper on each side, and you have to be careful that the paper is nice and neat, and it needs to be inside of these guides. This is good. And then you can put another 3 reams on this side. Make sure they're pushed up. The paper has got to be pushed up against this guide. There needs to be this separation, because these are actually 2 separate drawers. When you close it, you don't want to shut them both at the same time. You have to shut the right side first and then the left. Because if you shut them both at the same time, the right side doesn't always close all the way. And then it gives you an error message like reset unit 1 or reset drawer 1. And all that means is that you need to open it and reclose the drawers properly. So what happens when you actually make copies from this drawer is it pulls the paper tray from the right side first, and then it refills itself with the paper on the left. So this guide pushes the paper over and refills the right side. So while the machine is running, you can open it and fill the left side and then close it back up. So you can open that while the machine's running and refill the paper.
And it refills only when the right side is completely empty.
Yes.
Is that correct?
The right side's empty. It'll push the paper from the left over. Yes. Then the other drawers are just standard. You can adjust them to fit any regular size sheet of paper, and it'll just hold 1 ream of paper in the bottom 2 drawers. Okay, so across the top, like I said, you can see your paper trays. You can pick the paper tray you want just by touching it on the screen. You do also have a bypass tray over here on the side for like color paper or heavier stock. You can load the paper in On this one, it goes print side up, and there's a little picture here to remind you. Just load the paper into the bypass tray, and the bypass light will come on and it will know to copy onto this paper.
Can you also load transparencies, copier transparencies in there?
Yes, but make sure that they're copier transparencies, because this is a high volume copier, and if you use the wrong transparencies, they'll melt in the machine. So I recommend that you order them from Ricoh, but as long as you check and make sure that the box says that it's for a high volume copier at 70 plus copies per minute. This one's definitely going to be a hotter machine.
Like if we have some left over from our previous copier, which was Canon,
Canon, yeah, that should work fine.
for a large machine like this?
Yes, those
It
will
should
work
be
fine.
okay.
Yes,
All right.
as long as they're for that Canon copier, yes. Okay, so we have our paper trays across the top, and then below that, we have just a few presets for reduction and enlargement, and they're not really standard, so you may or may not use them, but the auto reduce enlarge will allow you to shrink like 11 by 17 or legal down to letter just by hitting that one button. So it automatically goes to letter paper. If you put a legal or ledger sheet of paper in there, it'll automatically shrink it down to 8.5 by 11 when you press start. Our two-sided functions are right in the middle of the touchscreen. There's one-sided to two-sided, and then two-sided to two-sided. This button next to it will allow you to take two 8.5 by 11s and shrink them side to side to fit on one. And then the next one, it allows you to take four 8.5 by 11s and put them on one sheet of paper also.
On an 8.5 by 11? It's at
1,
that
2,
little?
3, 4, yeah, little. And the create margin button is pretty much the same as the 93%. It just shrinks the image just slightly so that nothing gets cut off around the edges. If you want your pages to come out collated, make sure you press the sort button. That's on the bottom left corner. That's right here, sort. And then stacking is uncollated. And just to the right of that, you can choose your staple. It'll do top left, lower left, and two staples on an 11-inch edge. So like a book. You see that? And it just depends on the orientation, which one you would select, but it's just an 11-inch edge. Okay. Then if you need to reduce or enlarge, all the other options are under reduce and enlarge in the lower right corner. You can choose from one of the presets on the screen, or you can use the plus minus keys to raise or lower in 1% increments. You can also use the button that says number keys, and then just enter the percentage in with the number keys on the panel, and then press OK and OK again, and you can see the percentage here and go ahead and make your copy. Down the left side, you can lighten or darken, or you can describe what you're copying. The default is just text. You can also choose from text, photo, photo, pale, which would be like pencil marks that don't show up real well on a copy. And then a generation copy is the last one, and that would be a copy of a copy. If you're losing quality, it'll sharpen the image. Your reset button, that clears everything back out to the defaults. Clear will only clear the quantity. Stop will stop the copy job if you've made a mistake. If you need to log out, usually the log out automatically times out pretty fast, but if you press the reset and clear at the same time, the box comes up that asks you to put your code in.
Does stop only stop the machine? It doesn't clear, does it clear the copy job?
It asks you what you want to do. So it stops it, and then it says, do you want to cancel it or do you want to resume? Okay. So do we have any questions on copying? Okay. Just a couple of things on the panel. The energy savers, what's gonna light up when it goes to sleep. And if it's asleep and you need to wake it up, you can press that energy saver button, just firmly press and hold it for about a second and then let up on it. a light tap won't get it to come back on. You have to kind of press and hold it for a second. Then it will wake up. You can also just set papers in the feeder. That wakes it up, or you can lift the feeder and that will also wake it up.
Is it okay or recommended that when you leave for the evening, you can just leave it so it goes into sleep mode, the energy saver mode?
Yes, exactly.
Rather than shutting it off every night?
You don't want to do that. Just let
Okay.
it go to sleep.
Okay.
All right. So the next thing here, a couple other things on the panel. You're not going to be accessing the login, log out button. If you want to log out, press the reset and clear at the same time. You won't be using the user tools. And the simple screen just makes the buttons bigger and less features for people that don't want to do anything but the basics or maybe can't see the buttons very well. And it's a toggle button. Most people hit it by accident and then don't realize that you just push it again to get back to the other screen. So
Is there a brightness light for the window?
not that you can adjust yourself.
Okay.
A technician can adjust it though.
Well, the reason I'm asking, on our previous one, a faculty member came in and said, the window's dark, I don't know. And so, of course, I didn't really read the book, but I thought I should have. But I happened to see the little contrast button, and I kept pushing it, but here it turned, so I just wondered if
This
there
one
was-
doesn't have an accessible
Okay.
contrast.
somebody
but-
had turned it
So
by
that's
mistake. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
One less thing that we can get goofed up.
Right. Okay, so the next thing here is going to be your scanning. And you're going to be scanning to a shared folder. So what you need to do first is place your originals in the feeder and then touch the box that says network scan and make sure that's highlighted. And since you're sending to a shared folder, you're going to want to name the attachment so that you can find it. And you can name it under send file type name right here. And you'll touch that. And then on this screen, you'll touch right here. It says file name. It gives you a typewriter, and you can type in a name for your attachment.
What if we already had that set up with our Canon, and we have the folder?
You do, and it
Will
still
it-
works.
Will it still be,
Yes.
will it come up on this one so we don't have to rename it?
Yes. I mean, the folder will still be there. Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Who, well, and it'll be where we can access it, which we know. Now, who will be doing the setup? The reason I'm asking is when they initially installed these a few days back, they didn't have the printer kit for ours, and we got it yesterday afternoon, and I was out of the office, Nancy was there. So and the techs, would they have set that all up for us then, so it should be ready?
If you had a folder on your old one, then they would have set that same file path up on the new one. So it should still be there, yes.
Well, I tried to look to see about adding the printer, and I couldn't see that it was in the system yet.
Oh, you would check with your IT person then.
So
Yeah, you'd want to,
Matt.
well, it would be Matthew Clark,
Okay.
and he's trying to get them set up as fast as he can.
Sure.
There were several that were installed in Sherman yesterday, and I believe we worked until about 10:30 last night, getting them all listed.
And the
so-
fellow that was working on it, he said that they were in communication with him, so
Okay,
I
yeah.
didn't email him also. I
Okay.
figured he probably would hear it.
We just want to make sure that it was.
If you don't though, in a couple of days, definitely give them a call.
Is the
Okay.
scan folder stored locally on a hard drive in here, or does it go out to the network and store it someplace?
The scan folder is on your network. It's a shared folder on the network. It's, depending on the department, it's selected for each department.
Ours is on the S drive.
Yeah, they'll all be on the group share
The
drive.
S drive.
The buffer max?
We have the
Oh.
groups folder, yeah.
So you'll select the network scan folder, you'll name your document. It's set to scan in black and white. 300 is the resolution. Auto paper size detect. It's going to be a multi-page PDF. If you want to scan in color, it does, even though it's just a black and white copier, it scans in color. And you'll find that under scan settings, right up here in the top left. and you can choose full color or auto color select, and either will give you the same result. When you're scanning in color, just keep in mind the 300 is a good resolution for that. You don't want to go above that. The file size is going to be bigger for color scan, and there are some limitations, so you may not want to scan 200 pages in full color and try to send it. It probably won't go through. Okay. There is also a button here that says original feed type. Whoops. The original feed type allows you to tell that you have two-sided originals, so you don't have to separate them out to single pages first. You'll just go to original feed type and say your originals are two-sided, and then it asks the orientation. Is your document open left to right, top to top, or does it open top to bottom? And it shows a picture representation here so you don't get confused as to what's what in here. That's top to bottom here where it kind of flips like a calendar, and top to top's like a book. And then it asks, is the last page one or two-sided, so you don't scan a blank at the end. And this feeder will scan both sides at the exact same time, so it's really fast. Okay, then, so we know how to scan our two-sided originals, name the attachment, choose our folder, and change from color to black and white. The other scanning that you can do is scan to a USB. The USB and SD card slots are on the right side of the panel here. You can plug in a thumb drive, and if you want to scan a document to your thumb drive, you would choose your settings first, like you would name it. You would tell it if your document's two-sided, you'd want to tell it if it's going to be color, and then you would go up here. Instead of choosing the network scan folder, you're going to go up here to store file, and then you choose store to memory device and press OK, and then start, and it'll scan it to your thumb drive. And that error came on because I didn't have a thumb drive in there. Any questions on scanning?
With the scanning, will it automatically detect like pages within the document, not just the last page, and delete those, or it'll just scan it?
I am like 90% sure it will, but I don't have a definite on that. I'm pretty sure it does. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Okay. Then next thing, I'm going to talk a little bit about the printer. And sometimes there are conflicts between the choices you've made at your computer and what's actually available at the copier printer. So somebody might send a job that requires legal paper, and maybe legal paper isn't loaded in drawer 3, and they chose legal in drawer 3. So the job comes over here and it tries to print, or they try to hit print, it won't. It'll light up over here. And if you hit printer, it will say load legal paper in drawer 3. And if you do that and then just shut the drawer, it'll continue and the error will clear out automatically. If not, you can hit job reset and cancel the job from here, or you can just choose another paper tray and just print it out on a different size. So that's how to resolve the errors on that. The other thing that you do by hitting the printer is access locked print jobs. And currently you're all defaulted to locked print. So when you go to print, it's not going to just print out at the copier. You have to come up and touch the printer button and then touch print jobs. And once you sent your job, you'll see a box with your Windows user ID on it. You'll touch the box, and then it's going to list your print jobs, and you'll touch the job. It'll list jobs. Let's see. It'll list them like here, and then you'll touch the job you want and hit print, and it'll pop up in a box and ask you to put in a code to print. You can assign it a code from your properties at your computer, and we're recommending that it's the same as your user code so that you remember it. but they are two different codes. One's releasing the print job, and the user code's giving you access to the copier to make prints from your computer. You do have to always have that user code in your print driver entered under job setup, or you won't be able to print at all. So the user code that you use to access the copier also allows you to print, and if it's not in your print driver, you won't be able to print. The locked print is a code that allows you to release a print job from the copier. It's different, but you can make it the same as the code that you use to access the copier. Does that make sense?
How do you put it in the print driver?
There is where you change the job type, it'll say job type and it'll be locked print. And there's a box that says details right next to it. In the details box, your Windows user ID is going to be filled in automatically. And then there is a space for the PIN code, and that is the locked print code, which you can change that to be your user code. You can also do a hold print instead of locked print. And if you print hold print, it does the same thing. It holds the print over here, but you don't have to use a PIN code to release it.
What do you do, just come in and highlight the job?
And hit print, but not start, it's actually print on the screen. Right. Any questions on
The
that?
default is lock print.
Yes, but you can change it if you need a different way to do it.
About our user codes.
Yes.
We've got all those entered into our system the other day. Now, is that something that Matt actually does into the printer, or will I do that? Okay, how do I do that?
That's what I will send you instructions on.
Okay.
All right. So, any other questions so far on that? Next is clearing jams and adding toner and staples. Any questions? Nope. Okay.
Well, actually, I do have one more
Sure,
about,
yeah.
because we keep track of how many copies, we have a lot of faculty members. Can you go through, or is that something else you guys will send instructions out on, is how to print out the copy reports at the beginning of each month?
You can't access that. They're locked out. If you go to user codes and try to print it, it won't let them get to it. Yeah, they can't get to it from here.
So you can't access that.
I thought we were supposed to be able to access it on the website.
I don't know that I don't think it displays the codes. You can't print it out from the website. You can do a printout from the device itself, but you can't do that from you can't like clear and reset, I don't think, from the WIM.
So I
If
have
you
to
do
go
it-
onto the website to print out the report each
You
month?
can't.
Monthly?
No.
You can't print it out unless they give you access to it from here, and I don't know that they're going to. You're locked out, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Then what if you clear those totals once a year, like Nancy does?
At the end of the fiscal year, we
Yeah.
clear it, and then we start
Clear
over
it.
Yeah,
again.
there's a button for that, but you can't access it.
Right, purchasing will be keeping track of all
Okay.
that, is the way I understand it.
Oh,
Cool.
The copy.
Okay,
oh.
all right.
Per total or per user? See, we need per user, year to date.
You'll have to talk to Matt
Yeah,
Clark
Matt
then.
will do it.
Okay.
Okay. All right, any other questions? Okay, we'll go through jams now, and if you happen to get a paper jam, it's going to light up here red, and then if you touch the copier button, it's going to show you a picture of the copier. It'll tell you what it's doing right now. It says cover's open, it says to close it. If it's actually jammed, it'll have another picture and it'll zoom in on the areas and show you what steps to take to clear it out. This you can open, and that's automatically going to loosen the paper path so you don't tear your originals. And then inside this lever, you can push it to the left. This will open and you can remove originals from here. As I mentioned before, it does have a scanning area inside, so it reads both sides at the same time using this narrow strip and this one. And sometimes you're going to have to clean the glass. So if you notice any lines on your copies, it's usually from using the feeder and it's scanning across a piece of dirt, which could be either here or here. So you'll have to clean both.
It's best to use the little.
They provide a cloth, and then there's directions up here. It says wipe the glass with a cloth dampened with water or natural detergent, and that's basically meaning no ammonia is what they're saying. Okay, now everything with the jams on this one is accessible through the front. So I gotta step back, and we're gonna open this up. And it looks a little intimidating, but it's not. And it's in alphabetical order. So I'm gonna start at the bottom. If there's a jam in area A that starts down here by this paper tray, you'll push that and you can pull the paper out from there. Just a warning, sometimes they keep the repair documents in here. The technician will keep reports on paper, and it's not something that's jammed or should be thrown away. Just an FYI. But jams would be in here. Then area B is a knob that you turn. B1 is a knob you turn. B2 flips down, that you can pull that paper out. C1 you lower, and C2 is a knob that you turn. If you forget to put a lever back, it's going to tell you on the screen and continue to beep. If the jam is in the D area, you're supposed to turn this knob 11 to 12 times before you pull out D2 to try to prevent ripping the paper. That doesn't always work, and sometimes it does rip. Just make sure if you tear the paper in there that you get all the pieces out. And then, so the knob is D1, the handle is D2, we have D3, and then D4. And you just reach in and pull the paper out. Anything blue is safe to touch. And then E1 is to continue turning the knob before you pull out E2. Here's E3, pull the paper out. And then F is underneath. There's F. I'll put that up, slide that in. And then over here is the finishing area. Get here. And everything's blue that you can touch or turn. There's R1 is a lever, R2 is a knob, R3 is on a magnet. Just pull that over and pull the paper out. R4 you lift. R5, there's R6, R7, R8 pulls out. It's where the collated sets are held before the staple. If you pull that out, you can remove those sets that are jammed in there. And I
Pull that out,
this-
how much of it comes out? The whole big,
thing, yeah.
the big piece there?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I actually am gonna have to pull that to show them staples, so. Okay, yeah. But while we're working with that, the toner is over here in this big bottle to change it. And it'll tell you at the bottom of the screen, it'll give you a warning on that. But this swings out. And this bottle is just attached by the rim here. So you lift this up, but you want to get a hold of the bottle, and this bottle, of course, is really full. And it's just setting in there, like I said, attached by the rim. And this is what you're replacing. The new one has a cap on it, and you're going to shake it 5 or 6 times from side to side, unscrew the cap, and then carefully, you don't want to tip it down. It will spill everywhere. You'll carefully put it in and then attach it. So you got to shimmy it and attach it so that this is hooked onto the rim. And it just swings back in. So this arrow thing is hooked right here. how to do the toner. And the directions are on the bottle and the inside of the door as well. The last thing to show you on this is the staples. And in order to do that, we have to move. So this R8 unit, it slides out and the staples are down at the bottom. And you'll just pull this up. And when it's completely empty, you'll be able to push the stickers together that say push on either side. And this whole spring pops up. So this piece of plastic and everything is going to move up. And you'll then remove the white cardboard from the empty cube from the side here. You'll have a new staple cube and you'll insert it with the arrows matching, and you'll see them etched on the plastic. You'll match the arrows and then squeeze it closed, and there's a tab that you pull last. And then you take the end with the blue dot and you put it in first, like the toe end, and snap it down. And then there are directions inside the door that the green matches the green. Green is the staple direction. Okay.
Do you happen to know when we can order staples, since it still is showing a price on the RICO website?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Any other questions? There's 5,000 in there for now. And so, okay. Well, did anybody need to go over the web image monitor and how to add those user codes, or were you going to send directions to them?
I am gonna send directions if you want, having that personalized.
Okay. All right.
I see fax on there, can you fax?
This one does not have fax on it.
Now Gail said that they did in their office, so some can,
It's an
yeah.
extra charge.
Thank you very
And
much.
if you do wanna go over the user codes with us, we're having another meeting at 1:30 tomorrow in Stipes 121. If you have any problems and would like to
Yeah, I've
actually
already
watch
gone
us
on
do
the
it.
website and put them in,
Okay,
but it's just, I just don't know if I need to do anything else to actually get it activated.
They're activated.
Is it, yeah.
Okay.
They're already,
Yeah, I got those in.
yeah, it's already using them.
Even though our printer kit was added late, because it was just added yesterday. That's
Yesterday
what-
too, and that's the one we're using. We were added yesterday too,
Okay.
so, yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You don't have